In Palestine, the health ministry reports over 7,700 people killed during the 22-day Israeli siege against the Gaza Strip. In Panama, President Laurentino Cortizo announced a ban on new metal mining concessions, but the contract with the Canadian company continues in effect. And in Kazakhstan, mining explosion in Karaganda province killed at least 32 people. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Palestine, the Israeli siege against the Gaza Strip persists. The death toll since the beginning of the attacks has risen to more than 7,700, among them 3,195 children. The figure was updated by the Palestinian Ministry of Health, whose authorities informed that the number of wounded reached 1,950. The health agency said that hospitals in Gaza have also received 1,800 reports of missing people, including 1,000 reports of children. The bombardments registered on Friday night and early Saturday morning are considered the most intense since the beginning of the aggression 22 days ago. The President of Türkiye, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, urged Israel to stop its ongoing attacks on Gaza after the aggressions recorded in the last 24 hours, described as the most violent. The Turkish president referred to Israel as a war criminal in the eyes of the world. He also stressed that although every country has the right to defend itself, what is happening in the Gaza Strip is nothing more than an open and cruel massacre. Erdogan's statements were made at a rally called the Great Palestinian Gathering held at Istanbul Atatürk Airport on Saturday. These demonstrations took place within the framework of the Palestinian Solidarity Campaign. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan told a crowded pro-Palestinian rally in Istanbul on Saturday that his country was preparing to proclaim Israel a war criminal for its action in Gaza and blame Western countries for the death in Gaza for failing to stop Israel's attacks.
Frankly, Israel has been committing war crimes for 22 days. Now, Israel, we will proclaim you as a war criminal to the world, and we are making our preparations for this. The West has the biggest responsibility for the massacre in Gaza, because Israel will not be able to take a step without them. If it did, it will not survive 3 days, it will collapse.
Israel ordered withdrawal of its diplomats from Türkiye following statements by Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan condemning the siege against the Gaza Strip. The information was confirmed by the Israeli Foreign Minister Eli Cohen, where he expressed that his country will reevaluate the relations with Ankara. Tel Aviv's decision comes after Turkish president at a demonstration in Istanbul compared the attacks against Gaza to the Nazi Holocaust. Iraqi university students rally in Al-Qadhimiyya city in Iraq in solidarity with Palestinians in the Gaza Strip after fierce overnight Israeli bombardment that rescuers said destroyed hundreds of buildings in the enclave strip, which came 3 weeks into a war sparked by the deadliest attack in the country's history. In the United Kingdom, citizens took to the streets to express their support for the Palestinian cause and in rejection of the Israeli siege against the Gaza Strip. Under the slogan, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free," the demonstrators gathered in the center of London and demanded a ceasefire in Gaza. This demonstration comes after Israel intensified its attacks on Friday night. The organizers of the protest called on the entire population to join in defense of the rights of the Palestinian people. The Metropolitan Police were deployed to prevent demonstrators from gathering in the streets near the Israeli embassy. At least 200 people who participated in the peaceful pro-Palestinian demonstration at Grand Central Station in New York, eastern United States, were detained. The Jewish Voice for Peace movement of New York reported a collective arrest in the midst of the protests and called it the largest rally New York has seen in the last 20 years. The Jewish people planned the mobilization at the iconic station where attendees waved Palestinian flags and wore black t-shirts. The New York authorities reported that the protesters were briefly detained, received warning notifications, and then released. On Saturday in Italy, members of several social movements mobilized in support of the Palestinian people in the face of the Israeli siege. Protesters demanded the international community to intervene to achieve a ceasefire in the face of the constant Israeli attacks that have claimed the lives of more than 7,000 Palestinians. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the South. We go live once again to Chile as the 11th day of the Pan American Games Santiago 2023 continues. Eduardo Regonesi has the latest on Saturday's sporting events. Hello, Eduardo.
Hello, how are you? Good afternoon. We're here live on a cold and rainy weather here in Chile. Very strange weather to start this off. It's about to rain here. This does not happen very often here in October. It almost never happens. It's very, very strange. And also, this allows me the perfect transition. We're talking about strange phenomena. Something strange is happening at the baseball final today, where Colombia is defeating Brazil. I say strange, not because Colombia was doing bad or Brazil was doing bad. Strange because it's an unusual final. None of these teams have ever played for the gold or silver on a Pan-American level. Colombia right now is winning 9-1. It looks like Colombia is going to be the winner. It's in the bottom of the, let me check, the beginning of the 7th inning. Colombia is leading 9-1. That's a live result. Very likely Colombia is going to add another gold medal. And as we said, an unprecedented final where Colombia and Brazil are going for gold in baseball. It's good to see new countries. It's good to see a variety. It adds more competition to a sport like baseball, where it's usually dominated by Venezuela, by Cuba, of course the United States as well. When there's not too much variety is in field hockey. Let's talk about field hockey a little bit. Here the sport, it's dominated by Argentina. Argentina, in all the finals they have been playing ever since the sport started in Pan American level. Argentina has been in the final, whether it's on the men's side or on the women's side. On the men's side they won 10, lost 4, and on the women's side they won 7 gold medals and lost 2. Who do they lose these 2 to? To the United States. And precisely the United States is a team that was playing Argentina early this morning. But unfortunately for the American team, Argentina defeated them 5-1. So Las Leonas from Argentina are a strong competitor to take the gold once again. On other results in field hockey, the women's field hockey, Uruguay beat Trinidad and Tobago 11-0. Mexico and Cuba are playing right now. It's 0-0. And Canada and Chile close the evening at 7:30 on the last game on group stage. Let's talk about another sport, tennis. A lot of tennis happening today. We already have the 4 finalists on the single side. Early this morning, Laura Pigossi from Brazil defeated Julia Riera from Argentina. It was 4-6, 6-4, and 7-6 in tiebreak. Pigossi, the top-seeded player, had a tough time defeating the Argentinian rival, but she made it all the way to the finals. And on the men's side, Tomás Barrios from Chile had a much easier match against Thiago Monteiro. It was 6-3, 6-1, 2 sets. The Chilean makes it to the final, where he's going to face Facundo Diaz, the top-seeded player on the men's side from Argentina, while the player from Brazil, Laura Pigossi, is going to play against Argentinian Lourdes Carl, who defeated the Peruvian player Rebeca Marino 6-1, 6-4 earlier today. So we have the 4 finalists for tomorrow, and today is another day of finals in tennis. We have the doubles finals happening at 6:30 and the mixed doubles finals happening at 8 as well. Another results, judo started today. A lot of matches going on in judo. We're going to have finals later on tonight and tomorrow, and of course we're going to have the summary for you guys tomorrow, all the new medals. Let's do a quick rankings. Talking of medals, right now United States is leading with 154 medals, 61 gold. Mexico going strong at 35 gold medals, 83 totals. Canada on 3rd place. Brazil staying strong in 4th place, overpassing Colombia, way past Colombia. Colombia has 10 gold medals, 39 total, and Chile, the local team, 5 gold medals and 29 overall. Of course, as we always say, this ranking is dynamic. The standings change it minute by minute, and of course we're going to have all the new updates for you guys as soon as we get the new results. That's it from now. From a rainy Santiago, we say bye to you. Back to Cuba.
Thank you, Eduardo, for the latest updates on today's Pan American Games. Let's now go over what happened on the 10th day of competition in this Pan American Games Santiago 2023.
Cold morning in Santiago as a new day of action at the Pan American Games, where early this morning the crowd got warmed up by watching the superb forehand of Laura Pegossi from Brazil, who defeated Jamie Loeb from the United States, securing her spot on the semifinals. Later on, Facundo Diaz from Argentina and Tomás Barrios from Chile also secured their spot on semifinals. On males field hockey, Brazil, Canada, and Mexico secured their first points on group stage on what it was the beginning of the males competition. In women's basketball, Brazil defeated Colombia, Venezuela defeated Mexico, and Argentina did the same against Puerto Rico. During the evening, beach volleyball came to an end, where the local team won the bronze medal match against the United States, while the US won the bronze medal on the women's side. Brazil won the gold medal on the female final against Canada. And in cycling, Colombia secured 3 gold medals, while Canada obtained 1, closing a very good day for Colombia. Reporting from Santiago, Bastián Merino and Eduardo Aragonesi.
Panamanian President Laurentino Cortizo announced Friday a ban on new metal mining concessions, but maintained a contract with a Canadian company that has sparked massive protests in the country. The president announced in a television message that the Cabinet Council agreed to issue an executive decree that declared the prohibition of granting new mineral concessions throughout the national territory. However, Cortizo did not mention a word about the controversial contract with First Quantum Minerals. His announcement did little to quell tempers of thousands of Panamanians who marched again on Friday to demand that the contract with a Canadian company which operates the largest copper mine in Central America be repealed. Indigenous and environmental groups fear the contract with the Canadian mining company will irreparably harm Panama's rainforest, a vital part of the Mesoamerican biological corridor, and pollute drinking water. Venezuela urged for diplomatic dialogue and rejected the warmongering statements of Irfan Ali, president of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. In an official statement, the Venezuelan Foreign Ministry denounced President Ali's behavior contrary to the commitments assumed in the Geneva Agreement of 1966. Venezuela also denounced the buyoff of the entire Guyanese leadership by ExxonMobil, a transnational corporation that designs plans to threaten and attack the Venezuelan people and steal their resources. The actions of the Guyanese executive follow the instructions from the U.S. Southern Command to escalate actions against Venezuela's legitimate and historical rights over the Guayana Esequiba. One of Brazil's largest social movements demands the arrest of far-right former President Jair Bolsonaro. In Salvador, reporter Brian Meir has more.
The Central de Movimentos Populares, or CMP, one of Brazil's largest working-class popular social movements, has sent 500 delegates from 21 states to its 7th National Congress, which is currently underway in Salvador, Bahia. One of the demands local organizers are bringing to the National Directorate is the need to pressure the government to arrest former President Jair Bolsonaro and everyone else who participated in the January 8, 2023 coup attempt.
We beat Bolsonaro,
But Bolsonarismo is still alive. So to prevent them from advancing against the class struggle, they have to be jailed. It is the duty of the state to imprison Bolsonaro and all of the generals who stood by his side and helped him commit his crimes.
The CMP mobilized hundreds of thousands of people to the streets against the Bolsonaro government's austerity cuts and played an important role in last year's electoral defeat of Jair Bolsonaro. But at its National Congress, it's making it clear that the fight won't be over until Bolsonaro and his allies are made to pay for their crimes.
People who attempt coups against the Brazilian population belong in jail. So we who are in the popular social movements, women and black, want Bolsonaro arrested, not just barred from running for office.
Brian Mir, TeleSUR, Salvador, Brazil.
We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at TeleSUR English. There you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back from the south. Kazakhstan said on Saturday that 32 people died in a fire in an ArcelorMittal mine, with over a dozen still missing. The worst such disaster in years prompted the nationalization of the company's local affiliate. President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev ordered his government to take control of the Kazakh branch of the company after the fire, which followed a methane explosion at the Kostenko mine in the central Karaganda region. The Emergency Situations Ministry stated that the bodies of 32 people had been found and the search for 14 miners continues. The ministry added that there was very little chance of finding those still missing alive. At the time of the explosion, more than 250 people were working at the site. Kazakhstan Emergency Minister Sirim Sharipkanov announces that a coal mine fire that killed 32 people occurred because measures to improve ventilations were not being carried out, which in turn led to a lethal level of methane pollution.
Measures to improve the ventilation of the sector, the undermining system and the attachment were not being carried out. It could also be said that the level of production control was violated. This is the main reason, because you constantly need to monitor the level of gas pollution and reduce the level of neglect. As of today, there is no positioning system of the Kostenko mine, and it has not yet been installed. The company's plans probably should have been there, but at the time there weren't any.
Gabriel Davalos is a visual artist who studied journalism, but has dedicated more than a decade to discovering the mysteries of dance photography. Cuba on the Move has his history.
They are dancers from the prestigious Cuban schools of ballet. To show their expertise, they don't have to dance in the elegant Gran Teatro Alice Alonso. They can delight the most demanding ballet humano by dancing in deep Havana. This time, they pose for the lens of Gabriel Davalos, a journalist in love with ballet who has been dedicated to dance photography for more than a decade.
I have had the pleasure of publishing books, of exhibiting in several cities around the world, of winning some awards, but what gratifies me the most is having exhibited in most of the cities of Cuba, in the squares, in the parks, that pleasure of accompanying people where daily life takes place and feeling accompanied, that's me.
He says that he came to photography by chance. He says that he was surprised by dance and ballet at the beginning of his career, and that for 10 years he was a photographer without a camera.
I like the metaphor. I was a photographer without a camera, because I did it in my mind. That is, I had neither the camera nor the possibility of having one. But that didn't limit me to dream it, to fantasize when I saw work, to imagine photographs both on a stage, and since then, the idea of living on the stage to use the language of dance and photography to tell the story of these times.
Dávalos confesses that sometimes it takes him months to think about a theory or a photo, which is why many of the snapshots he finally gets marked for him an era, a story, a feeling. But there is one in particular that reminds him of Cuba and the Cubans. It took him a year between conceiving the idea and finding the exact moment to take it.
And it's the one in which a dancer appears in the middle of the storm on the Havana Malecon. The Malecon overflowing, the stones on the streets, the waves breaking hard against the Malecon. And there is a dancer who is lying down, wet and holding on his wrists a dancer who seems to be dreaming, who seems to be flying. And I think that somehow that had to do with the whole history of the Cubans. Because we Cubans emerged from the resistance and the difficult times, the complex times, have not been an impediment to dream, to think, to believe in more, to have faith.
These days, Dávalos Times is also occupied by another type of creation.
Just when the pandemic was beginning and we could already glimpse that these were going to be strange, difficult, different times, Greta Molejon, the first dancer of the Cuban National Ballet, who also accompanies me in life, and I thought that we should find a project that would make us grow, and that is how we proposed to create a prototype of ballet shoes that would somehow represent the Cuban Ballet School, and that is where we are, in the final moments of that creation on a factory, and a small factory that aims to cover the demands for the ballet shoes.
The truth is that Dávalos acknowledges that part of his success is due to having lost his head over a dancer.
They say I lost my head for a dancer, but they say wrong. I fell in love with all the dancers. It is a Cuban robbery. Although there is some truth in the fact that I have lost my head for a dancer and that I fall in love all the time with all the dancers because it is the way I have found that romance. But that romance from the intellectual, from the thought to connect with that sensitivity that dance has to communicate, to accompany, just to save. I think it is a symbolic, metaphorical way to show what dance means to me in this of telling the story of the Cubans.
In these difficult times that Cuba is going through, Dávalos says that he is pleased to continue taking his art to the most popular places. It happens that in his photos, the scenarios are as protagonist as the dancers who, he warms, are just the pretext to tell the story of his people. He confesses that he is interested in reflecting all Cubas. That's why in each image, the spectator can discover sensations, experiences, joys, sadness, pain, but a lot of faith.
Fabiola Lopez, TeleSUR, La Habana.
Before ending our news brief, we will roll one of the thousands of videos on social media about the tragic desperation of the Palestinian people following the constant bombardment of the Israeli Air Force against civilian targets. In the video we see on screen a civil defense man could not control himself and will collapse, crying while pulling a Palestinian girl out from under the rubble in Gaza. We have come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social medias, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.